What's up, everybody?
What's going on?
Oh, what? Who?
Hello.
Oh my God, who is that?
I'm back, brother.
It's Kevin Sting.
Yeah.
We're gonna make that character happen one of these days.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the Fringe 103.7 WPWL Pauling Public Radio. I'm Mike Berquist. With me today,
The one and only of former Nerd Vault fame, Ed Dougherty.
yep, it's Ed Dougherty.
Back in the flesh.
Former Nerd Vault fame or current? Or you're still famous for it though, right?
Am I still famous for it?
To me, you guys
Or
are
am I in
still
that
famous,
washed
I
up
guess.
rock star phase where I'm just in like a trailer?
Yeah, or you're like that rock star who, like, after they leave the big band, you look in their, like, associated things, and it's, like, 3 bands you've never heard of before, and it's,
Yeah.
why is Chris Novoselic in, you know,
It's like
the Whistle Pigs? See?
the Whistle Pigs.
I worked that in there. It's my new favorite phrase, and the name of this episode is Whistle Pig.
Whistle Pig.
Whistle Pig is, yeah, I heard it on Jeopardy, I think, and from then on, it's just been my go-to phrase for all things. It means groundhog.
Do they whistle?
No idea. I don't think so.
Do they make a noise? They have to, I would assume.
I mean, they make, like,
Guinea pig noises?
like marmot noises, you
Yeah.
know, like normal kind of stuff.
That's interesting.
There's a giant whistle pig in our yard, but
Is it a whistle boar then?
no. See, it's got to have the word pig,
Pig.
though.
Yeah,
'Cause
it
you go
doesn't
whistle
sound good.
boar. It's
Whistle
a little
boar.
whistle pig, hysterical. But let's get on with the show now. As usual, happy birthday, rest in peace from this day in history. This day being July 15th. Lot of famous birthdays today. I had to go back and I had to look 9 months before today to see what the date was. The date of conception for all these famous people. Maybe, I mean, you said that like there were pictures. There weren't. It's just I just looked at a calendar.
He's lying. There's pictures up.
But it's October 15th, I guess, would be 9 months earlier. So if you want your baby to grow up to be like an incredible athlete, musician, or actor, conceive them on October 15th so that they can be born on July 15th.
Mark your calendars, people.
There were a ton of people in there. It was really crazy. So I went with 3 people today because I couldn't decide. I went with Ian Curtis of Joy Division fame, Marky Ramone of the Ramones fame, and Lydia Davis, who's a very successful short story writer. Yeah. Did you know none of the original Ramones are still alive?
Yes.
I just found that out before.
Yeah, they're all gone.
And it was like only 1 drug overdose and then like 3 cancers.
Yeah. It wasn't. I mean,
Like, has cancer wiped out a band before?
yeah, I'm
like
sure
that?
it has.
But like it was in such a like short period of
Look
time,
at
and like all
George
those.
Harrison from the Beatles. He died of cancer.
But all these dudes died around the age 50.
Well,
of
also
cancer.
their lifestyle and stuff. They smoked. I mean, you gotta look at what kind of cancer.
I get one of them had like bile duct cancer, which I didn't know was a thing.
That's rare, probably.
Yeah.
And it's, when you go, you go. I mean, you're in, you're out, yin yang, all that. You're here, you're there.
It's Ed Dougherty, guru.
But you know what's funny is you're mentioning a lot of people born in the summer, right? Like in July.
Yeah.
Do you know why that is? Like why they're being conceived in October and like later like fall months?
No, why is that?
Because typically more people are born in the summer because during the winter, like people are like shacked up and got nothing to do.
It's October though. That's Indian summer.
You can get snowstorms in October. We got that blizzard one year.
Then I would have to look back and see all the years of all of these people's births if there was a big snowstorm in October now. I gotta
link it to like a meteorological thing. Like look and see if there was like a heavy snowfall that year. Or like
in the areas they
in
lived,
the area
too. Their parents lived.
I guarantee you it's because 2 people got like stuck in a snow lodge or something in their house, snowed in, and it was just like,
They
hey.
could have all been trapped in a snow lodge.
No, but they could have had bad weather or, it's cuddling season.
That's true.
Think of fall. Fall is a cuddly time of the year.
I like that you're also implying that a husband and wife will not touch each other unless it's cold out.
They don't?
Like, this is the only time that this could possibly happen is if there's a deep freeze.
I mean, I've hung out with a few couples in my time, and it always seems to be around that time when it's cold that they go to each other.
Fair enough. Let's move on to Death Day, though. Speaking of things that are cold. Oh, too soon. So here with 2 people that died a very long time ago. General Tom Thumb.
Was he actually a general?
I doubt it. I mean, in the Barnum and Bailey
Of
circus,
the
if that means anything.
Lollipop Guild, perhaps.
Have some respect for General Tom Thumb.
He has a hat and everything. Look
He
at that.
outranks all of us. Charles Sherwood.
Five star and a half.
How demeaning! Also, you have such a great name, Charles Sherwood Stratton, and your stage name is General Tom Thumb, the dwarf who was laughed at the circus. That's sad, man. But it looks like he did have like a pretty good life.
Looks like a children's wedding in that photo.
This over here on the right?
Yeah.
I mean, well, that's definitely two adults. But the people on the sides.
No, I'm pretty sure those are adults as well.
You think so?
Yeah. They all have double chins.
Oh, that doesn't mean anything.
No, but like, I don't think those are chubby kids, is what I'm saying.
It's hard to tell.
Oh, I don't like this.
I know. I feel
We're going into like a weird territory here.
Yeah, we're alienating our the dwarf listenership. Is dwarf the word? I don't know what the word is anymore.
It depends. I believe
little person. I feel like little person is out now though, because they're like we're people. We're not. It almost seems like you're demeaning their status as people. I feel like I've heard that.
I feel like
before.
it's on an individual basis of what they prefer to be called, and I just think that
that's probably true with all groups too, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, take Native Americans for example. Like when I was taking a course in early human studies in New Paltz, our professor was saying that a lot of them don't prefer the word Native American.
What do they prefer?
Indians.
Really?
Yeah.
But it's wrong.
But they call themselves American Indians. They don't call themselves.
Okay, I have seen that. There was an article I was reading on here last week. Yeah.
A lot of them prefer that because the whole topic of quote Native Americanism is really like and some of them acknowledge it. If you were born in this country, you're a native to the country essentially. But if you're indigenous, then you're part of an early group of people, so you would call yourself American Indian. But some prefer Native American, so it's it's really just how they feel.
I'm trying to find a clip from 30 Rock. I don't think I'm going to be able to find it because NBC really shuts these things down. There's this whole thing Tracy Morgan goes through on that show where he says the United States is built on being wrong about things. He's like, Columbus went the wrong direction to get to India, and when he got here, he called the Native Americans Indians.
Yeah.
And we still do that to this day. It's like, why? Because, there's no reason for it.
No, yeah, and actually, it's funny because like even the whole thing, like Columbus is taking a complete 180 from when we grew up, like reading about it.
He used to be a hero, and now he's
like the worst thing ever happened. And now like Leif Erikson of all people is like being like, there's a statue of him in I think it's Seattle.
I would guess like Minnesota.
Or he's New England. There's a statue.
Really,
of him.
New England?
Well, that's where they landed.
That's where he landed. Where like way up there though, like Maine, or would it be like?
I think it's in Massachusetts.
Really? Huh. That's pretty cool.
But like Leif Erikson Day is like a national holiday now and stuff.
I don't have the clip queued up.
Finger Hinga Fergan.
There you go.
But I've been doing a lot more like
SpongeBob watching.
No, Viking stuff. So
okay.
I joined like a reenactment group that does that.
That does Viking stuff?
Yeah.
Where does that happen?
The group's called Draugr Nordland.
Okay.
And they're located like Albany, like upstate New York, and like New England areas like Vermont, Rhode Island, stuff like that.
Okay, a lot of woodland kind of stuff.
Connecticut. But I met them in Mystic during like a Viking celebration thing. Like they had a longboat there that sailed from Norway and stuff to prove that Leif Erikson could do it.
Wow.
So like
that's a ways to go.
Some group from Norway reconstructed like an actual like they call it like the Draken. It had like the dragon's head and everything.
Right.
And they sailed it last summer from Norway to New York to prove that like the Vikings could do it, and they did it.
I feel like that was proved like 100 years ago, though.
Here's the problem with that is there's evidence to support it, but there's certain groups that are like staunch Columbus supporters that are like there's this huge thing of like,
is it Italian Americans?
Yes, and it's like
I don't know why they cling so hard.
The
to
Italian American
Columbus.
Society, because it's the Italians helped discover America, right? It's the claim to fame there.
I mean, sort of.
Sort of.
There was a lot more that went into it.
When like what map was it? The Vinland map that's like under like dispute of whether or not it's being authentic, where like it's supposed to be like a quote like Viking map of like America, like the coastline.
Okay. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, so they've been here. And then Leif Erikson, like we've found Viking remains like in the Hudson Valley is like,
that's pretty cool.
Like we found like coins. We found like even on like the like we found like Native American graves up by Canada that have like Viking weapons in them and stuff like that the Native Americans had like taken from battles. Native Americans, Vikings described fighting like Native Americans and stuff.
That probably would be a pretty cool battle.
They lost a lot of the time, the Vikings.
That makes sense.
'Cause
Unfamiliarity
just
with the terrain.
Yeah. But yeah, no. So there's plenty of evidence to support that. But there's certain groups that fight viciously to like. It's like no one's actually like. It's like basically like the Italian American clubs of America have gotten together to like fund like anti-Leif Erikson stuff.
That's
Like
so weird though. But what's it called? So Tom Thumb.
Tom Thumb. Going back to
I
that,
don't
yeah.
even remember how we got to Vikings, but I love
How
Vikings.
did we get to Vikings? Vikings
is
are cool,
great.
man.
But Tom Thumb, Bridgeport, Connecticut, native, 1838 to 1883. How did he
Married
die?
his first cousin.
Did he really? I feel like that was the law in the 1800s, though.
You could do it. I don't know why someone with being a dwarf would marry something that would cause.
He survived a house fire, then died of a stroke. 20,000 people attended the funeral.
Wow.
P.T. Barnum purchased a life-size statue of Tom Thumb. Come on, man. Do a giant statue for Tom Thumb.
Look at his monument. That's pretty big.
Yeah, and then there's like, I mean, at the very top is a little person.
Yeah, but
standing
you know
on
what,
top.
like how much of a joke it would have been? Like say like they made him like look normal size and then someone digs him up for archaeological purposes and they find out he's a dwarf.
I mean, no,
Like
it
that's
would just
like
be
that's like a Benny Hill skit.
Nah, it would just be like a nice thing, like, oh, look, dude was like, his legacy is larger than life, something like that.
Yeah, but you know what though? It was, and people knew that. That's why 20,000 people came to his funeral.
Fair enough. So
I think the same thing will happen to
Who?
Peter Dinklage. I could argue, not because he's a dwarf, but because just I feel like he does the kind of the same thing. I think he's pretty famous.
Oh, he's definitely famous. And yeah, I mean, I'm sure there'd be an out.
I mean, his role as Tyrion Lannister alone, I think, kind of speaks up for that.
That's like what made him
22 Emmy nominations this season.
really.
22, the highest nominations ever, I think. 22. So
Wow,
they're bound to
alright.
win something at Emmys.
I mean, yeah. Even if they just won half,
Also,
that's
it's
11 Emmys.
It's with shows like that that are on their last season that shows typically get like that
Oh,
final
they just
push.
throw accolades at them.
Yeah,
just
because
for-
it's like thank you, right?
Yeah,
And they'll probably get
exactly.
it next year after the show ends.
Yeah. Well, actually, I don't. How would that work? They get an award after the show ends.
Well, I'm saying
for that season.
For that
Oh,
season,
okay, yeah.
Because
Yeah.
they're always like ahead of a season.
Probably. So let me just wrap up the rest of
Yeah,
piece here.
yeah.
So that was General Tom Thumb and also Anton Chekhov, the Russian playwright who wrote things like the Cherry Orchard, the Seagull, Uncle Vanya. I should just have it pulled up. I don't. Anton Chekhov, Russian playwright. Rest in peace. Let's play Ramones real quick. It's a 2-minute song. That was one of the longer ones I could find. And it's called Teenage Lobotomy. So we're going to hear Teenage Lobotomy, then we're going to come back here and start jumping into the wacky world of
The world.
the world. Here's the Ramones, Teenage Lobotomy. Well, clearly we have a playlist running because this is I Want to Be Sedated. But what we were supposed to hear, and that was it, was, I already forgot the name, Teenage Lobotomy by the Ramones.
Almost like you got lobotomized there.
I was doing 1,000 things at once. I was listening to you. You were talking to me. I was listening to you. I was promoting the show on Facebook. I was making sure the chat room was good to go.
All the work that goes into this.
I mean, yeah, but it's typically at a radio station, it's a team of people, but just me.
Team of one.
Team of one.
Army of one.
Correct. Sure, I'll be an army of one.
You could be an army of one.
I feel
if you
like
want.
that tagline isn't taken yet.
I'm sure it has been, but it's like a common term. So.
Is that not the term that like the army uses?
Isn't it
all the
Army
ones?
Strong?
Army strong. What's the Marines? The few, the proud, the
Few
Marines.
the proud, the Marine, which they're about to change, I believe.
To what?
They haven't made a new slogan yet, but they said that they're working on a new one.
I mean, it's already pretty much it's the basics already. It's bare bones what they have.
Yeah. They also just redid the PT test for all the military, so now they're different.
Is it harder or is it?
Apparently, it's more endurance based than like numbers. I don't know how it exactly works, but I just know that a lot of the older military people were like, "What the hell is this?"
All right.
But
I don't know what Army of One is from. I feel like it's from something. It doesn't matter. So let's jump into some topics here. What do you want to start with?
Let's start with the stuff that gets us grinds our gears, so to speak.
That grinds our gears? Fine, because I got a good one
You got
that'll
a
bring us all
bunch.
back down to earth.
Here we go.
Afterwards. I don't know where to start.
Let's talk about the Starbucks thing with straws.
Let's talk about the Starbucks thing, because I don't know a lot about the Starbucks thing.
I do.
I just seen it. All right, tell me about it.
Because I'm a coffee fanatic.
Okay.
All right, so basically, there's been this huge push to ban plastic straws because they wind up in like turtle noses and stuff in the ocean.
Ew. Turtle noses?
Well, like there's a video of a guy pulling like one out of like a sea turtle's nose.
I feel like if anything, that's just gonna help the turtle breathe.
You would
Having a straw in its nose.
think, or maybe just pump water into his nose.
Oh, I don't want that. Nope, it's bad. Okay, keep going.
All right, so anyway, plastic straws, big source of pollution, plastic pollution.
Yep.
So, and Starbucks, for a special drink that they were making, had made a special top for it because the appearance, it almost looks like a beer the way they make it. It's got like a white foam at the top, like a head almost, and the way the lid works, it's strawless, so it's like a sippy cup kind of thing.
Okay.
So it was designed so you could drink the foam and the drink at the same time, so that it mixes in your mouth, kind of.
All right.
Because like the
Is
foam,
that something people like?
yeah, it's good. I've had it.
Okay.
But then someone saw the lids and was like, "Hey, they should just do this for all their drinks." And there was this big push, like, "Let's ban plastic straws and all this." So now Starbucks is going to introduce these new lids to most of their ice drinks. Now the problem with that is that there's more plastic used to make these lids than there were with the original lid and straw combo.
Of course.
Which is going to cause more pollution now because the factories that produce these things are going to be cranking out
Much more plastic.
much more plastic to make these. So
Great.
again, with this social activism nonsense, which is that
And it's Starbucks. How many times are they going to shoot themselves in the foot over social activism before they realize, like, hey, maybe we should make our own decisions and stop kowtowing to what a crowd demands?
Well, because the company is based off kowtowing.
And that's not a sustainable business model.
It's not, but it's working because everyone goes to get their coffee. You have an addictive substance that everyone loves. Everyone's going to go to it.
Dunkin' Donuts has none of these problems, by the way. How does this keep happening to Starbucks?
Dunkin' Donuts has actually had a bit of a thing with their styrofoam cups. They're changing those now.
Well, even that, but like nobody's crying racism about Dunkin' Donuts and all this stuff.
I feel like people who really drink Dunkin' Donuts, and this isn't to shoot at anybody here who drinks Dunkin' Donuts, but
Sure.
like hardcore Bostonians. Like that's what I picture. I picture like
Are you picturing Casey Affleck from that SNL skit?
yeah, like that's literally how I picture it, and they nailed it, which is like
Yeah, that was really funny.
or
skit,
Bill
yeah.
Belichick,
So Bill Belichick in your mind is
like
the,
a disgruntled
the traditional Dunkin' Donuts.
New Englander in like someone who just finished working on their house.
Are they known as like a New England?
They are a New
brand?
England chain.
Is that what they
That's
are?
where they started,
Okay.
I believe, and they're popular more in New England than Starbucks is as you go up.
Okay, that
Because
makes
Starbucks
sense.
is more in like New York City and like major metropolitan areas.
They're anywhere you're going to find a large hipster crowd.
Exactly.
Because they come from
Or like
Seattle, right? Aren't they
yeah.
Seattle? Yeah.
So I believe that American runs on Dunkin' is more of because it's also cheaper. So I think more of like the blue collar crowd uses Dunkin' more often than not. Which again, not to your coffee's your preference. I prefer Starbucks. I don't mind paying a little extra for my coffee, but
Isn't their coffee always a little burned or something? Than Starbucks.
it's stronger than. But I don't like the
Okay.
taste that Dunkin' has.
What do you mean stronger? Like flavor or caffeine?
Both. The cold brew they make is quite caffeinated.
That's another thing I've been seeing a lot lately. Is this cold brew thing.
It's because
That's a new like fad right now.
It's not really I guess you could say it's a fad. It's just iced coffee, but what it is how they filter it. I think they filter it through cold water instead of hot water, which keeps like most of the grinds intact, so there's more caffeine in it
Okay.
or something. I'm not exactly sure of the process. I'm sure some coffee snob is listening to this, like going into a rage.
Yeah, I can't
But,
drink coffee anymore.
Basically, it's iced coffee, but it's filtered a different way than normal iced coffee is. Because typically, iced coffee is coffee that's been cooled down and then put over ice.
Yeah.
Whereas cold brew, I believe, is just coffee that has been filtered through cold water.
It's been cold forever.
Yeah, it's like the Coors Light of
Ugh.
coffee.
That's really not selling it.
It's cold. It's cold.
Yeah, it's also
Yeah, I know,
Coors
Coors Light.
is trash. That's a trash
But
beer.
it's stronger coffee, so it gives you more of a kick, which I prefer.
Yeah, I mean,
I had
that's
one
its
before I came
function.
here.
That's
but-
I never understand people drinking decaf coffee.
Decaf is the most redundant thing to me because who enjoys the actual taste of coffee?
It's
No one drinks it to
ridiculous.
taste it.
No, it's for that like weird almost drug high. So that you can
Exactly.
kinda get
And
through
everyone puts
things.
cream and sugar in it anyway, so you're really not drinking. You're just drinking sugar milk with
Yeah.
caffeine in it.
Exactly. There was I saw something on Twitter. Somebody had tweeted like, I think it was, I can't remember who it was directed at, but like some lady, and it's just like, anybody getting coffee with like 6 sugars and, like espresso in it and stuff. It's like, why don't you just do cocaine already and stop with the.
I always think of Men in Black when I see people with too much. Like I put a bit of sugar and cream in my coffee. I'm not gonna lie, but I always think of Men in Black when the cockroach is drinking sugar water. And,
I haven't seen Men in Black.
You've never seen it?
I've seen it, but probably around the time it came out.
When Edgar walks in and like demands sugar water and his wife's pouring.
You can't use names to me. They mean nothing.
Cockroach guy.
Cockroach guy.
Cockroach.
Oh, wasn't he?
He's the.
What's his private pile?
Yeah.
Vincent D'Onofrio.
Yeah, Vincent D'Onofrio comes in and demands sugar water, and she has a glass of water and she's just pouring sugar into it, and she pours like half the sugar bowl into the water and just chugs it.
Right.
Because bugs like sugar and whatever.
Sure.
But that's why I just see people like, oh, I'm gonna take like that's a bit excessive amount of caffeine. Meanwhile, you're drinking 6 sugars in your coffee. So what's the difference? Yeah. But going back to the plastic thing.
Yes.
Really, this is not it's on the surface appears to be environmentally friendly. It's really not. And it's, again, this is being circulated by people who are not aware of environmental damage. Essentially, like, these are just white girls posting this. Like, oh, we're getting no straws now.
And yet Starbucks is listening to all this.
Because that's their main market. You lose the white girl, you lose everything.
I mean, no, not really. Because...
Have you seen some of their drinks?
Yeah, but here's the thing. Those people, like white... I just said those people like it was some racial thing.
I'm not trying to be racist here. I'm saying, but like the generic Starbucks white, quote-unquote,
yeah, the white
girl.
The hipsters of the world, the hipster girls. Here's the thing with those kinds of people is... if you don't do what they're demanding, sooner or later they're going to get tired and they're not going to look elsewhere and they're just going to go back to doing it.
Oh, they'll submit. Yeah.
Yeah, they're not, if you push back even a little bit, they stop.
But I guarantee you this action's going to get them more customers now because people are going to think now they're an environmentally friendly coffee company.
I don't know because...
Meanwhile, more turtles are going to be choking on these new lids now than
this story is out there. It's circulating now, so
I know, but the problem is there's idiots that are pushing it through saying it's an environmental solution. It's not.
It's not. Just like you can come and sit in here if you're not a customer is also not a solution to a minor one-time incident at one store. They shut the whole thing down for a day to retrain everyone and said anyone can come in here. And so the homeless and drug addicts promptly made their way in and started shooting up in the bathrooms.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But that's...
Starbucks. They're not great at planning it out and seeing it through correctly. It's not a good company. Do you think that they will survive in the long run?
I think yes, because they're constantly the trick for companies. Take a look at Toys R Us. Let's use them as an example.
This is so far a weird example.
No, but I'll use this example.
Okay, I'll follow you here.
Toys R Us, right?
Sure.
Goes out of business.
Yes.
Let's look at why they went out of business.
They are terrible.
Amazon. Right?
That's a big part of it, yeah.
Amazon, right?
But they're also not a good store.
But this is what I'm about to get into, is lack of innovation. So when the current...
Lack of innovation, also their customer service was abysmal.
It was abysmal. But at the same time, the company didn't adapt to changing climates in their field, for example. So toys started becoming more and more electronic. Kids are now more interested in video games and as opposed to, say, action figures.
Okay.
So if you have a small game, like the one in Danbury, had a small video game section,
the video game nook.
But everything else was Barbies, Star Wars figures, and everything else.
And Nerf guns. And bicycles.
But
how are bicycles still being sold, by the way, in the year 2018? How does everyone not already just have a bicycle?
Everyone
I feel like...
New families.
Yeah, but I feel like you still have like, oh yeah, this was my grandfather's bicycle.
Yeah, but if they're for little kids, you got to get like a smaller bike.
Yeah,
the training wheel bike, and then you get the real bike. Like I have my dad's bike; it works, but I'm also 26 and a full-grown adult. A child can't ride my bike.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you're a little child and a coward, you get your own little bike.
Just put him on a motorcycle, give him a Harley.
Let's get him started.
You're gonna learn.
Deep end.
There you go.
Throw him in.
But back to this is that they didn't innovate.
Who are we talking about? Toys R Us?
Toys R Us didn't innovate.
Yeah.
Right. They didn't adapt to the changes, which is what kids were wanting something else. Well, and the other thing was...
But if by adapting you mean raising the price of Legos, then yes, I think...
Well, that's the other thing, is that they kept the prices ridiculously high, whereas Amazon offered what kids wanted at cheaper prices, and parents were going to buy that over spending $200 on the same thing.
That's not even necessarily Toys R Us's fault. I mean,
It's
Toys
a
R
business
Us,
model.
Toys R Us probably could have avoided this if they said we're going to scale down our brick and mortar stores and switch to more of an online
thing.
store.
But they did have an online store, and it was abysmal.
But like they needed to make that their priority.
They did, but they didn't innovate. They didn't do that because that would have kept them competing with Amazon, and it didn't. So they went out of business. Whereas Starbucks, now I'm connecting here.
Yes.
Starbucks constantly innovates. For example, there's some Starbucks that offer after-hours things such as wine and certain alcoholic beverages.
Is that legal?
Yes.
That's weird. Starbucks getting a liquor license.
Well, some of them do. There's one, I think, in Mount Kisco that if you can get like a carafe or whatever of red wine or something instead of coffee after like 5 p.m. Like the menu will switch from necessarily there'll be coffee still, but you can also there'll be like wine and cheese plates. They're trying like
where'd all that indie rock music go? Now all I hear is smooth jazz.
But that's the thing is that Starbucks is constantly trying to change the game for itself, which is okay. What can we do besides coffee? And they're not trying to do like Papa John's. Like we're gonna like make like pizzas or something.
Oh, Papa John
We'll
is
get
on
to
the
that.
list.
We'll get to that.
He's in the news.
I got jokes about that.
Good. Because what Papa John is now claiming is hilarious. Because it's never happened before in the history of the world. Except to him, apparently. So,
in the long run, I think Starbucks will survive because it is an adaptable thing. But however, part of the downside to adapting is constantly making these quick facial surface adjustments on the fly, like these lids, changing their policies about letting people in there, and they don't necessarily work out in the long run. But the company itself will survive because that keeps people coming in because they're constantly adapting themselves. People like change. People like new things. So if you keep reinventing your image, well, yes and no. Yes and no.
But I see what you're saying.
There's people who like their things a certain way. There's people who like their patterns and, what they do every day is the same.
Those people can go to Dunkin' Donuts.
That's the Dunkin' Donuts crowd.
I do have a little breaking news, so we're going to cut in
breaking
here.
News.
France storms the second World Cup title, defeating Croatia 4-2.
Well, at least they got a second goal. It was 4-1 when I left.
I mean, they were the big underdogs, I guess.
Croatia?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because what is their main export? Human suffering?
Game of Thrones.
Oh, is that where they film all of it?
All the King's Landing scenes are Dubrovnik in Croatia.
Oh, okay, that's pretty good for.
So most of the castles and all
southern
scenes are all in Croatia.
Really? Okay. All right. Well, hey, good for you, Croatia. Sorry that the thing didn't work out for you here. The football thing.
Yeah.
Right. The football.
Football.
Ridiculous.
Hey, they did really well. They blew out Germany. They blew out they blew out England.
Yeah.
So listen,
I saw online somebody got tattooed like an England 2018 winners of the World Cup tattoo. It was I saw it on Reddit under it was under the r/premature celebration, and
I cringe when people do that because it's like how do you you can't be that sure.
Yeah,
you can never be that sure.
You're taking a really, really permanent, strange gamble.
Well, you can get it removed nowadays. It's just going to cost you more.
It's still always going to be there and like faded though.
Well,
you can't really get it out.
It's a scar after a while.
Yeah,
it's like a you don't see the ink, but there's definitely a mark there if there was something on your body. But
yeah, all right. Let's take a quick break. Actually,
okay.
The next song I'm going to play is a sports song. It's been stuck in my head for maybe 3 days now. So when that happens for no reason, I like to think that there's a meaning behind that. And if nothing weird pops up around me, I like to put it back out into the world and see if it was maybe meant for someone else. So I'm going to play it. It's the hockey song by Warren Zevon. A lovely tale of a Canadian farm boy who wants to score goals in the NHL, but he's only really good at beating people up. Here's the hockey song by Warren Zevon. Warren Zevon, the hockey song from his 2002 album, My Ride's Here. So, Ed, you were just talking about... First of all, you were amazed that he fit so many hockey terms.
So many terms in there.
Yeah. What were you just saying, though?
But it just surprised me out of all the sports how hockey is the one that became, known for fighting. Like, you think football would be the one everyone's throwing punches in.
Well, I mean, they're all... It's weird because you would.
But that's
think
like a more aggressive sport. You would think
it is a more aggressive sport, and yet the fighting is like you get penalized for fighting in football.
You get penalized for fighting in hockey.
They let it go though. They let you fight for
a minute.
Is that
a few minutes? I think it's 2 minutes or something.
Is that really like an actual?
I think there's a certain period of time before the ref has to call it.
2 minutes is long for.
Or
a fight.
if a helmet comes off, I think.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, where they just start pulling the shirt
Yeah,
over the head and
it's-
just wailing on them. Yeah.
But it's just funny to me how like that sport stemmed out of like a pastime in Canada and is now like I get why it's famous. It's a good sport to watch, but
Every year I tell myself I'm going to start watching, and I never do. I'm going to do
my
it this
cousins
year.
are big into hockey, I think.
I
But
hopped on the Vegas Golden Knights bandwagon. That's my team now, so I'm going to
that
follow
was a,
them.
that was a lot for a lot of Americans though. A lot of people were like, "Yay, Vegas."
It was like the great underdog story. I mean, I'm not a big sports guy, but even I was kind of invested. Like, I liked
I have
early
a
on when they were
Bruins
like,
t-shirt, but that's about it. But I don't know how I got that.
all right, well, remember when the Knights, they won like 5 games in a row
Yeah.
in the beginning? People were like, wow, they're really doing it and stuff. Like, this is pretty cool because at first it was a very small scale
was
thing
a
where they were
joke.
like, well, no, they were like right after the Vegas shootings at the country concert.
Yep.
Then the Vegas Golden Knights won a bunch of games and they were like, Vegas strong, you know, it was like a nice little solidarity thing. And then they just didn't stop winning. They just kept going and everyone was like, wow, this is a lot bigger than how it started.
Well, also the Rangers had a terrible season.
Did they?
The Rangers are like on and off. Like they'll do really well, and then like the next season they'll like be terrible.
Okay, who's
And then-
their guy who's like a big deal? I think
Lindquist?
he's the goalie. Is that it? Yeah.
Lindquist.
Does he still play?
I don't think he does.
Okay.
I think he trade. I don't know. I'm not a hockey official. I know players and stuff, but I don't know anything about like stats.
Oh,
And, like,
yeah, I
like
mean-
if he got traded, if they do trades, like I don't know.
They do trades, I think.
I don't think he was on the team this year. That's why they didn't do good. Or maybe or no, he was on the team, but he didn't do good.
Was he injured?
They always are. I don't know.
I'm surprised at how
It's a
far we
sport
took this
where you-
conversation, considering
sport-
neither of us really have all the information.
Because I feel like
I think
we're
you
like
did a
the
good
third
job, though.
party hockey fans are like, yeah, like we have family members who watch hockey or friends, and like we'll be there when the game's on, and like we kind of know what's going on,
I
but
wouldn't
not
even.
really.
If that's third party, I would consider myself like 10th party because I'm not even at that level.
I can watch it. I don't know what's going on a lot of the time, but like,
Oh, I mean, watching it's fine. I just never know when it's on, and I never think.
yeah,
to
like I
tune
don't
in.
actively look for hockey games when I'm
Right.
just going through the channels. I know people who do.
I feel like you can't even passively find hockey though if you're scrolling through the channels. Like you kind of have to know exactly where it is.
you
To
have
find
to have like the NHL like Fox channels and stuff. I think, and those
it. Yeah.
you have to scroll down for, so you have to look for it. As I'm saying, like I don't watch a game unless someone else has it on.
Right.
Like I'm not like and I'm always like I always come in like halfway through it, so I don't know like what happened and I don't really. I think it's just more of a sport. You just drink beer and just watch it. Like I don't really think
Yeah, I
anyone
mean-
actually pays attention.
Kind of. It's very similar to kind of like soccer on ice with a much smaller field,
Yeah, and a bit more violence.
which is the way soccer should be. More violent, smaller field.
Well, the way the guys throw themselves around when they get tripped looks like they had their legs broken. So
I feel like soccer peaked when Zinedine Zidane headbutted that referee or whatever. That was the height of soccer.
they had that on Fox.
Okay.
They were flashing back like the history of like France.
Yeah.
And just him like
Just really headbutt like.
he knocked him down.
Oh yeah, that was like a.
square in the chest, like straight like headbutt down. I was like,
Yeah, that was like a I practice headbutting kind of.
that was like an
headbutt.
iron skull right there. That was just
Yeah.
wow.
And now apparently
like,
that
I'm-
dude's a coach.
Yeah,
Is he the coach for France?
no.
Is it like Algeria then or something?
He's
Or
a-
Belgium or
He's the coach for I forget.
let's find out here. Zinedine Zidane. If I saw him walking down the street, I would go, that's a white supremacist.
No, he looks like one of those like
He's a scary, bald, big white dude.
yeah, I mean that's more along the, like
I'll stereotype a little bit.
yeah, I guess.
I mean, I shouldn't, but let's see. Where the hell is it? Oh, it's Real Madrid.
Real Madrid, that's what it is. He coaches Real
It says
Madrid.
2016 to 2018. Is he not doing it anymore? Oh,
That might-
retirement. Hey. All right, I don't know. It doesn't really matter. It's Zinedine Zidane.
Yeah, but that headbutt was
Oh, it was great.
epic.
Yeah, that was the best soccer's ever been.
I
Everything.
don't
else
think it was
has
a
been
ref.
bad.
I think it was a player from Portugal.
Okay.
I think it was
I'll go with that.
they lost to Portugal that year, France.
Right.
And part of he got the penalty kick, I think, is what got them the loss from that headbutt.
Okay. All right, that makes sense.
I
Then why it
think
was
that's-
such a huge deal?
Well,
when it
for
happened.
one, because it's like one of like the most blatant
yeah, it was
violations. It was the guy straight up headbutted a guy in the chest. It wasn't an accident.
Right.
Like the ref had blown the whistle, and he
then-
just turned and they started talking. He just headbutts him.
Yeah.
And then there was a penalty kick of that, and I think that's what cost France the game because it was 0-0, and then Portugal scored 1.
Okay.
And it was 1-0. Soccer is one of those games.
Impromptu headbutt, though, seems like a really difficult... Like, if I was going to headbutt somebody, I would really need to kind of square up, plant myself. Like, I wouldn't be able to just do it, like,
there are types of people, I think, in this world that would either A, throw a punch, B, push, or C, this genre of character, which is headbutt.
Yeah.
And you have to have a certain mindset of where I'm going to, like... But then again, you headbutt the ball in soccer, so maybe that's like a natural
forgot about that part. Yeah.
So, like, maybe that just comes naturally to those guys. Like, they just think, like,
that would
how
make
to
sense.
hit somebody.
Yeah.
So maybe.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, I forgot they, like, train themselves to headbutt the soccer ball.
Yeah, they're probably expert headbutters.
Yeah. All right. So it's not as amazing
out
and miraculous
there.
as I thought.
But moving on.
Let's move on. Let's very, very quickly, let's just touch on nice news, because I like to throw out a nice news story every now and then just to bring us all back down to, we were just talking about headbutting. In the break, we were looking at goalies' faces from the old times where they're all just scarred up. And...
horribly, like Frankenstein-level scarring.
Oh, yeah, it was bad. So this is from the Salt Lake, do you say Tribune or Tribune? I feel like I've heard both.
I think I say Tribune, but I don't hear the word enough to actually say it.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I feel like I would say Tribune.
I feel like I say Tribune.
Because Tribunal.
That's good. Yeah.
So I think it's Tribune. I say it's not wrong either way. I think I'd say Tribune, but I don't have anywhere up here that's got Tribune in it, so I don't. I'm just saying it because I'm like backing myself up here, but I feel like if I read it like Putnam County Tribune or something, but it doesn't have that.
The word has lost all meaning now to me because it's been said so many times. It's 5 seconds to like. Tribune. So, anyways, the Salt Lake T. They got a story here. The Mormon Church makes a... Oh, wait, I already read where it's from. Okay, whoa. Mormon Church makes historic donation to LGBTQ support group Affirmation for suicide prevention training.
There's been a lot of this going on with religious groups...
And that's nice
coming
news.
To the aid of the LGBTQ people.
Now, I am not part of the LGBTQ community, but I like when these...
I'd say I'm an ally of it.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I like when these, like the groups that for like 300 years were staunch opponents of this kind of thing are now kind of...
There was a march during the Pride Month where a bunch of, I think it was evangelicals, Christians, marched with a giant apology banner.
Wow.
And it was like Christians in support of LGBTQ. And it was just literally like all their signs were apologies. Like, sorry for...
That's pretty cool, man.
Like reacting with fear instead of love. And sorry if like we weren't being good Christians. Like, this is our fault. Sorry. Like, forgive us. And they were forgiven.
All right.
By some.
Nice.
But...
I'm waiting for the Westboro Baptist Church to come out and apologize.
They're not going to do that.
I know. It's a long shot.
Although I did read a thing. Someone made it like a note of like, live your life so that the Westboro Baptist Church protests at your funeral.
Yeah, I mean, you just have to join, or you have to be a part of the LGBTQ community, or be a veteran. Apparently, those are like the two groups that they just love to. You know what?
It's good to see though. Like,
I mean, you better come up with something fast because so far we're just talking about Westboro Baptist Church. You went, well, it's good to see though.
Well, no, it's good to see that like Christianity is taking.
Yes. Now.
In some cases,
Pope Francis did this.
Yeah,
right. He's been the one, and I feel like a lot of religions are following suit because Pope Francis. Because I think
I don't think it's necessarily because Pope Francis. I just think it's becoming.
Pope Francis is at the top of a religion.
Yeah,
I mean, as far as a human person can go in a religion, he's there, and he did it, and there wasn't as much backlash as I think a lot of people would have thought, and because of that, I think other religions and groups are going. All right, maybe these people that support us won't react the way we think they will.
I don't think there's ever going to be backlash because if the Pope says something, devout Christians or Catholics, I should say, are going to listen.
Yeah.
So it's if the Pope says it's fine, it's fine.
Right.
It kind of upsets me that it took one man to say like, okay, I'm cool with this, for people just to come out of that and be like, like that's such a sheep thing. It took almost
2,000 years of people for one guy to stand up and change everything.
But the other thing is too, I was watching a video of Pope Francis, and it was in South America, and a boy,
his old stomping grounds,
had got there. These kids were allowed to ask questions.
Okay.
And a kid had gotten up and said that his father had died.
That's not a question.
But the story was his father had died.
Yeah.
But before he had died, he had his sons baptized, even though his father was an atheist. Like
Wait, I'm confused. So
his father was an atheist,
right?
But after the birth of his two sons,
He had them baptized.
he had him baptized, though he himself had never been baptized.
Right.
But just, I guess, to cover his bases, I don't know, or just didn't want. He wasn't imposing his atheist beliefs.
What was the mother Catholic?
I think out of respect, he had them baptized for the mom.
Okay.
But the question was, is my father in heaven?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
And the Pope answered yes.
Okay.
Because the Pope's...
Why? What did he give a reason?
Well, because if a father's selfless enough to give, to bring his sons into Christianity, even though he himself does not believe,
yeah.
God does the same. God did the same thing with his son, is to give up, to be selfless. It's a Christian value.
Okay.
So
therefore,
it's
like retroactively kind of
it's if you live the way, you don't have to be Christian to live in the Christian values.
Right.
So if you believe in the Christian values, whether or not you believe there is a God or not,
yeah,
you're not that you're Christian by default, but you're a good person.
Okay.
As long as you're a good person, that's what gets you up with the big man. It's not you following a doctrine. It's you following your words and with your actions and being a better person. And so he was like, yeah, your dad's there probably.
Did you say probably?
No, he said you're there.
Yeah, I mean, 50-50.
I just, if the Pope says it, the Pope says it. But I just,
sure.
But it was a nice thing to see.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But also the same thing, he also forgave women who've had abortions. That was a huge thing.
Okay.
Where he was like, I understand. Like, I get it.
Yeah.
And, and it's interesting to have a Pope that's
pretty dope.
A dope Pope.
Pretty dope Pope.
But at the same time...
That's my new Netflix special coming out. Pretty dope Pope.
Pretty dope
Go
Pope.
ahead.
The same thing with like John Paul, too. I think you get these popes once in a while that just kind of change the game.
Did John Paul do that?
John Paul's... He's a saint.
John Paul II?
They
he was canonized?
Yeah.
Really? I don't remember that happening. Who did that? Benedict?
I believe the process started with Benedict. Yeah, it takes a few years to get it done, but
well, Benedict was only there for I think 6 weeks, and then he bailed.
He was like
Is he still? He's still alive.
Yeah,
right?
he's alive, but he was a not a good pope.
Yeah, I guess
he really didn't do anything and just
personally.
kind of like set the church back a bit.
I mean, I don't know. You can't set the church. I mean, I don't think a pope can really set the church back that far.
It depends on their viewpoints, really.
I guess. But
yeah, no, it's good to see. It's good to see that these major religious organizations are starting to come out of their shell a bit and realize that
Mormons.
Hey, a lot of our followers might actually be LGBTQ, and like we're like ostracizing them.
Yeah, and I think Mormon is a pretty big one because they're a pretty tight community that really follows the rules. Like
Well, they're polygamists.
Yeah, but you don't hear a lot of like Mormon dissidents coming out and going
Right.
like that was the worst. Like you'll hear that sometimes with I hear it a lot with Jehovah's Witnesses, people who leave the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Scientology.
They'll look at Scientology. Well, Scientology is, I don't consider religion. I think Scientology is a cult.
It's a cult.
I mean, yeah,
But it's just it's the same thing too with
it's
like
a well organized cult. For
yeah,
sure.
it's well funded.
Yeah, you know, without the insane amounts of sexual abuse, without the mass suicides, I feel like cult living wouldn't be terrible. Without all those really bad things that seem to pop up in all of them.
The problem with cults is that you're in your case, your religion is being based off the ideas of one person, and it depends on the mental state of that one person to decide how your religion goes, because it's being made up as it goes along.
Right. Well, like if you went into the cult and just thinking like I don't
Gate.
believe any of this, I just kind of want to hang out and have food all the time.
Yeah,
Perfect.
but
this is the best place to be.
Typically with cults, you look at it like Heaven's Gate, and there's like that one cult that has a Netflix
the mass
thing.
suicide thing.
The mass suicide,
Jonestown,
like the sex
the
cults and stuff like that. Like stuff starts happening.
Yeah,
because it's not a defined religion, but that's what a cult is.
I know. I was kind of joking.
No, I mean I see where you're coming from, but it's ideally it doesn't change. You don't want to wind up having it be like Carcosa.
Right.
Start sacrificing kids.
True Detective is good
stuff.
stuff.
I love that season so much.
It was really good. And I didn't mind the second one. I know a lot of people hated it.
I didn't like it.
It was just too busy. That was a problem. But
too busy, and it didn't carry... I think people were expecting kind of a similar theme.
Yeah.
And there was
there
were
glimpses of it.
Yeah, there was like a bit of I would say mystical, but like a...
yeah, definitely more...
Lovecraftian...
Right, let's see. Here we go. Pope didn't say he is okay with gays. He said, "Who am I to judge?" But that's kind of him being okay with the gays.
I mean, he can never outright say he's okay with it because like that defeats. You know what I mean? Like there's
sort of,
but who am I to judge is a good way of saying it.
Yeah. Yeah. Because he's like the guy who's supposed to judge.
Yeah, and
Kind of.
Not judge, but to reaffirm biblical stances.
He's
So
like the Supreme Court of the church.
Well, he's the only authority under God.
That's the thing.
Himself.
He's the one responsible for reading the stuff and then interpreting it for
everybody.
Yeah. So he's just the Supreme Court. He's
the headmaster.
He's the Ruth Bader Ginsburg of the Christian Church.
Yes, that's a good way to put it.
Pope RBG. Ruth Bader Ginsburg. By the way, when she retires, the Democrats are going to throw a fit. Because she's already, what?
80?
210 years old? Ruth Bader Ginsburg?
Give or take a century.
Yeah.
The fact that she nods off is pretty fun.
Oh, yeah, I love it.
But I find that such a Supreme Court thing of just like a picture like a bunch of buzzards sitting there just like nodding.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. It's kind of what it is.
Like vast tomes that they're reading through with like glasses, like long fingernails. Like, yes.
Right. Like, but we still can't figure out this pesky Second Amendment.
Right?
They just can't. They'll never figure it out.
They're all wearing, I just picture like Game of Thrones, like the maesters, like chains around their belts and like, like long beards, even like
maybe.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg has one.
I got this chain when I figured out the Fourth Amendment.
It's like, we've achieved higher learning.
All right.
Let us consult the Queen Spider.
I just saw that episode recently, that South Park episode.
It's a great episode.
Yeah, it was great. Let's play a little Tom Waits. I want to play Gun Street Girl by Tom Waits. So let's play Tom Waits, and then we'll come back. Maybe we'll do the dunce.
Hey, what is the dunce?
I haven't figured out who it is exactly yet. There are a few options. We'll discuss it in the break. And
you got it.
So for now, here's Tom Waits, Gun Street Girl. Well, we're back. That was Tom Waits.
Love him.
Gun Street Girl. And now it's time for this. When you hear the dance of the cuckoos, that means it's time for our dunce of the week. And this is the Fringe, 103.7 WPWL, Polling Public Radio, top of the hour. I'm Mike Berquist. With me today,
Ed Dougherty of Nerd Vault.
Yes.
Formerly of the Nerd Vault.
He's the artist formerly known as the Nerd Vault.
Yes.
So we've decided on our dunce. We had several options, but we picked Papa John Schnatter, who is just a fool. So let's dive into this.
This article keeps getting better and better.
As anyone who's paid attention to news lately knows, Papa John used the N-word recently during a conference call and was promptly fired and suspended, and all the things were taken away from him. The story took a weird turn recently. Is this from today? 1 day ago. That he's now claiming that he was pushed into using the word. I guess the older kids circled him and told him he couldn't leave till he said it.
What did I say about ethnic slurs?
But, so he's our dunce. Let's see.
Aside from just terrible pizza.
Yeah.
Now we have to wait until the white smoke rises so that a new Papa John is selected.
I hope that's how it works.
In regards to the Pope we were just talking about.
So, he's 56 years old, apparently, which is shocking. But they're removing his likeness from the logo. Didn't know it was on the logo.
I didn't think it was. It might be posters and stuff.
I confused them with Little Caesars a little bit.
Just as bad.
Yeah, it's just terrible. Like
Little Caesars uses like cheese spread underneath their cheese.
Little Caesars is a good way.
It's disgusting.
I mean, in my opinion, it's a good way to get sick. If you need to get sick,
you need to throw up fast, consider one of these two options.
Yeah. In our opinions, though, right?
In our opinions, it's not backed by anything other than opinion.
It's just opinion, so don't.
But we also live to be fair, we also live in a county full of really good local places.
We are fortunate.
Prado and Carmel being one of my favorites.
All right, so let's get on with this Papa John thing. Major League Baseball has gotten rid of the Papa John stuff. The NFL's cut ties.
That's a big one.
Yeah. That's the bread and butter, I think.
There goes Papa John's.
Peyton Manning is not returning phone calls, so...
Does that say that on here?
No.
Oh.
It's just a joke, because, they were like...
Yeah, well...
It was that uncomfortable forced bromance they were trying to create.
He was literally like the pet to the NFL.
Oh, yeah. He wasn't even like a pet. He's like, I'm going to make a Star Wars reference, and this is going to be the first and only time I ever do that, so cherish the moment. You know that little rat creature that hangs out in your Jabba the Hutt?
Salacious Crumb, yeah.
Sure, that's Papa John, I think.
With his stupid little laugh.
Yeah, and Jabba is the NFL as a whole.
That's actually really good.
Thank you.
That's a good... Wow.
So, I think that's what's happening here.
He's being dumped in the Sarlacc pit now.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what they're doing to him. So,
which is Peyton Manning.
Ooh, could be. Maybe. Or the Sarlacc pit is just CTE. And yeah. So the 34-year-old pizza chain plans to hire an independent expert to audit all the company's processes, policies, and systems related to diversity and inclusion, Chief Executive Steve Ritchie said in a statement. Ritchie stressed that the chain, with 120,000 employees and franchise team members, which is in quotes, is more than just Schnatter. I gotta rewind the music a little bit, keep it going here. There it is. What was I gonna say? Oh, this is from FoxNews.com, by the way, this article. So, Friday afternoon, Papa John called into a Louisville radio station and said he was pressured to use the N-word during the conference call.
How do you get pressured?
That's my question. Host Terry Miners of that show was talking to Papa John, and he said the agency was promoting that vocabulary. Then there's an ellipses, so I would like to know what was in there, because news media is usually a lie. But he says, they pushed me, and it upset me. It's caused a lot of grief for my community, for my university, Schnatter noted. My employees are distraught.
University?
They're crushed, and it's all because I was sloppy and I wasn't as sensitive. It's the same mistake I made on the NFL comments.
What university?
Papa John University, obviously.
But
I mean, I'll give you a quick Papa John's test right now. What goes on first? Sauce or cheese?
Gorilla meat in Papa John's case. Trick question.
Oh my goodness. Why gorilla meat?
Because it just seems like some kind of horrible meat that they would slap on. Like some kind of bush meat.
Mystery meat. Yeah. So,
see any missing dogs lately?
Guest Reginald says, should become Mama John's. It's 2018. I agree, Reginald. It's time for more diversity.
Imagine they force him to go through a sex change.
As his punishment? I'd love that.
It's like the shareholders, like, you have to become a woman now to fix this.
This is like some kind of Ray Bradbury short story. Or Philip K. Dick.
Just forced, like, gender reassignment.
Yeah, it's Black Mirror for Papa John. So, let's see here. The executive caught flack in January when he said Papa John's, a longtime NFL sponsor, saw its sales get dinged because of the league's players' national anthem kneeling protest. That can't be true, by the way. Trying to find a causation between your sales dipping and,
that was
and
because,
people kneeling.
Again, he was like that weird pet to the NFL, and he had to be like, this is hurting us.
And just try to be in solidarity.
Well, with the NFL, because the NFL was like, we're losing numbers because of this, but we're not going to stop it.
I feel like the NFL was just losing numbers because who cares? And also there's way too much competition for your attention these days. Like, I really don't think it was as political as it was reported.
They're claiming it to be political, but I feel it's just because football is quickly becoming no longer America's pastime.
Yeah.
Baseball really has that title.
Baseball stinks too.
I've gone to several baseball games over the course of the last few months, and I can tell you, I don't remember even watching the game. It's more of a social thing.
That's the thing. Yeah, when I think back on any baseball games
I've had more fun hanging out than actually watching the game.
Right. I can remember. Any memories I have of going to baseball games is typically of the seats, like the section I was in.
And who you're with.
Yeah, the games, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah. But I think there's a bunch of sports now that are just fighting for, like soccer even. When did America start caring about the World Cup? But now we do. And our team's not even in it.
I don't know when it started.
I think it's because the demographics changing. I think younger kids are getting into different sports, and I don't think football. I think also with all the concussion stuff.
Yeah, football's they're going to take a big hit in the long run.
More and more parents are not letting their kids join teams.
And good, because
which I'm fine with.
As entertaining as football can be,
it's destructive.
It's not worth it.
It's not.
At the end of the day, it's not.
A brain injury is not worth the money you're getting paid to do it.
That presents an interesting question, though. What is enough money where a brain injury would be worth the trade-off? Because you could live,
basis.
Let's say you could live 45 years on top of the world with like $200 million, and you're crushing it.
Yeah, but
you die at like 55.
You die at 55, or you have you develop
how about
brain damage.
You live to 100, but you never see anywhere near that money.
It goes from individual to individual. I mean, there's still guys in the NFL who are still playing, obviously, and they're hurt. I mean, but they're still going.
On my end, just a poorly worded "Would you rather."
Well, that movie with Will Smith came out a few years back. Remember that?
I think it was just called Concussion.
It was called Concussion, and that caused. It was based off of the research that was being done. Was it hey,
right? And like the research,
there's
I don't
a whole
think
generation of guys
attention.
who are brain damaged now because of playing football.
Yeah. Did anybody watch that movie? I didn't.
It didn't get a whole lot of box office fame, but ESPN covered it.
Okay.
Because it was it's a sports movie and they always do, but it was a big deal because it's look
oh, it's a big deal.
Because the NFL was fudging data.
Okay.
There was a whole.
If I knew about that.
There was a whole big thing where the NFL didn't want a lot of the data that was coming out to be brought out because it's hey, a lot of our players actually have some form of brain damage,
and they're responsible for that.
They're responsible for that.
Yeah, they're
we put them back
numbers.
in the game when we shouldn't have.
And they don't want to pay. They don't want to make the payouts to people. And because if you saw, one of the court cases got settled not too long ago, and the payout the NFL agreed to was disgustingly low for the amount of damage that these people had sustained.
But that's the thing is,
it was everybody got $200,000 and was told to go away.
It's a thing. Even in a sport like rugby, there's far less concussions in that sport than there are in football.
That surprises me.
Well,
because you don't wear a helmet and you clack heads together.
But there are fewer less head-on-head collisions. It's more straight-up body tackles.
Okay.
Because there's certain rules in rugby where you can hit head-on-head accidentally and stuff.
Right.
But because you don't have helmets, it's generally avoided.
All right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you have a helmet, you're more likely to go down.
Be a little more reckless.
Reckless because you think you're geared.
Right.
As opposed to someone who isn't and only has a mouth guard. And maybe they have helmets in rugby. You can wear a
are those the leather helmets?
Leather cap thing. It looks stupid. Nobody wears them. But
you tape your ears back.
Most of the time, you're trying to just knock the guy down. You're not trying to take him out.
Right.
I've seen headbutts. I've seen people clack heads, and it sounds like you've heard it. But that's a big deal because that's typically. It was an accident 9 times out of 10. It wasn't a deliberate.
Oh, okay. It wasn't
one guy with the ball went low and someone went low because you have to go for the legs to tackle somebody. Typically is a good way to do it. So one guy goes lower than you or you both go just as low and you clack heads and it's an accident.
Right.
It's not a deliberate I'm launching my head at you.
Okay.
Which is a general misconception about rugby, which is that
it's incredibly over the top dangerous.
It is. I've seen a guy almost drown.
In rugby? Where were you playing?
There was a field, and it had rained, and there were puddles.
Yeah.
And the scrum, which is where that big
mound... Is that the mosh pit, almost?
In the beginning, collapsed.
Okay.
And the way rugby works is there's a guy in the middle that's being held up by his arms by 2 guys, and you basically have to kick the ball back to your line.
Right.
The ball gets dropped in the middle. You all line up. The middle guy in the middle of each line has his arms propped up on... the 2 other players' shoulders
to keep from falling,
and they're kind of holding him up, and you're kind of kicking the ball backwards. Okay. But if that collapses, you go down first.
Right.
And it collapsed, and the guy fell face first into a puddle.
Jesus.
And the pile fell on top of him.
Yeah.
And he came up gasping for air because he was just literally drowning in a puddle.
Right. And because he would have been exerting a lot of force and then hit, so he would have been pretty gassed.
He just went straight face down, but then you have how many 100-pound guys falling on you, and it takes him a minute to get up.
I guess.
So it happens. It's a much more dangerous sport, but also there's misconceptions of guys are not deliberately clacking heads.
Right.
You're doing your best not to hurt people. I've seen footage of some pretty bad injuries.
All right, hold on one sec, because we got pretty far off target here.
But going back to the NFL.
Dunce of the week is Papa John.
Yes.
Because how does somebody pressure you into saying the N-word? You don't have to say it.
You shouldn't have to. Never have to say it.
There's
really no context for you to say it.
You don't have to say it. Because you can say, first of all, no. And then if they go, well, we fired him because he wouldn't say the N-word. That doesn't look good.
It makes you look like a hero in the end.
Yeah, exactly. And you probably do
You
better.
probably
and
would better
everything's
business
great.
that way.
Yeah. I mean, this really is like schoolyard kind of stuff. I remember that's a thing Big J. Okerson has said before on his radio show he does with Dan Soder, The Bonfire, that when he was a kid, um, it's a story he's told a couple times where his younger brother, who was like much younger than him, like when he had to babysit the kids, he would lock his younger brother in the closet and wouldn't let him out until he said the N-word. Like, it's that same kind of juvenile...
Like arm twisting.
Yeah, like, but that wouldn't happen in a business setting.
No, and if you're in an environment where that's being pressured to be used...
I'm also not saying that it's a right thing to do in a juvenile situation either.
No,
it's wrong across the board.
board.
But to say that you were pressured into it is just a really stupid excuse.
It's also if you're in a situation where that word is being thrown around, even in a boardroom, it's probably not a good place to be.
Right.
Because that really speaks volumes of who you're working with.
Yeah. And it also goes to show you that it's all white dudes probably in that office at Papa John's. Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Because I feel like he would have said no and really held his ground if there were African Americans in the room.
Or I think
he's
rather
a coward.
He is a coward, but also
person.
look at him in the sense of, well, they pressured me to say this.
But here's the thing:
but the same thing, though,
it's a lie. It's obviously a lie.
So clearly, the word just came out of his mouth.
Yes.
So he has no problem saying it.
Right. Yeah, and it had something to do. I don't remember the. Let me see if I have.
It was a sensitivity training thing.
It was sensitivity training, but something about Colonel Sanders came up.
Well,
too.
because Colonel Sanders, the quote was Colonel Sanders calls them
the N-word,
and they still eat at his place, or something along those lines.
Wow, that's even more racist than just saying
the whole sentence was terrible.
Wow, yeah, what an idiot.
Because I think
just an ignorant dope.
I think part of the sensitivity training was the idea that there's a certain demographic that eats at Papa John's, and
also if you go to the sensitivity training and the teacher is speaking like that, don't you kind of look at your buddy and just be like, I don't think we're in the right place.
This is not a good group.
Yeah, I don't feel more sensitive. This is just weird.
The opposite is happening.
Yeah, I don't know if he's converting people to racism, but
reverse sensitivity training.
Yeah, I wonder if that is a thing in like quiet alt-right circles.
That would just be being brought up around racists, I would assume. That's just reverse sensitivity training.
Yeah.
It's just, you grow up with people who drop that word normally, you're going to assume it's okay to use.
Right. Or
that they're correct in using it.
Like our internet friend Shelby, who doesn't use that word, but I'm pretty sure has told us that she hears it all the time or whatever in Oklahoma, like the middle of nowhere, Oklahoma. Yeah. She lives where Courage the Cowardly Dog lived. In that little shack in the middle of nowhere.
Middle of nowhere.
Speaking of Courage, I was just talking to my sister the other day about Courage.
Did you see the art someone did with him?
No, but let me just tell the audience.
Go ahead.
Let me tell the audience who Courage the Cowardly Dog is. Let me get it from Wikipedia because they make things nice and concise, and I can just read from there. It was an American animated horror comedy for children. Main character, eponymous pink anthropomorphic dog named Courage, who lives with a married elderly couple in the middle of nowhere. The trio are frequently thrown into bizarre misadventures, often involving the paranormal or supernatural. It's known for its dark, surreal humor and atmosphere. Let me say, as a person who used to watch it, this show is absolutely terrifying. And
Return the Slab was the Mummy?
Yeah, my sister just showed, because we went
through... That one scares me still.
I was trying to remember all the different villains. I remember the Heaven Goose, who came down and wanted to marry Muriel, the old woman.
The cat.
See, I didn't really remember the cat, but apparently it shows up a few times. His name was Katz. K-A-T-Z, I think. And then the one that always freaked me out was when they have to go to space to, do something with the sun, and it's those little earworm things with the goofy dumb guy face that crawl in your ear and drive you insane.
Yep.
There was a period of time in my childhood where I would go to sleep and I would make sure I had Beanie Babies on my ears so that nothing could crawl in my ear and make me go insane.
Ramses, that's the ghost. It was the most terrifying one because it was like a CGI.
It was that early CGI though that was creepy.
Creepy, and he just looked gross.
Yeah, let me see if I can find him. Ramses, you said?
Ramses, because that song would come on the sonophone or whatever they had.
Oh, I'm not familiar with that. Let me see. Let's go to videos and see if we can.
Yeah, you'll find it. It's one of the.
Here we go. Here's King Ramses.
King Ramses.
Here's just it says mini clips. We won't play all of them, I guess. It's only a minute 14 seconds, so actually maybe we will. Let's just take a look here. All right, it's a 3D demon ghost.
This night you will be visited by 3 plagues, each worse than the last. Return the slab. Oh, come on. Return the slab.
All right, it seems to be a bit of a pattern there. He really wants the slab returned.
That one scared me so much, though.
It was really not a show for kids, which was weird. And then
a lot of cartoons back in the day weren't.
That's where the conversation went with my sister, where we're like, wait a second, actually, a lot of those shows were creepy. Cow and Chicken, which was just a Ren and Stimpy knockoff, was creepy. With the I Am Weasel and the Red Devil guy.
With his butt.
Powerpuff Girls was really under the radar creepy.
Oh, I got something about that, too, which we'll get back to.
Okay, because Powerpuff Girls... I feel like it wasn't even necessarily a show for young girls. It was really kind of a unisex kind of show.
Yes, and I think what made that show a bit more adult was the villain Him.
Him stands out as a creep from Powerpuff Girls because
he's the devil.
Him was also, I think, a lot of people our age's first introduction to what a trans person is.
I don't think they look like that.
No, but we were like, wait, is it a man or a woman? It's dressed kind of like we couldn't figure it out.
It was androgynous.
Right, but it brought up weird questions for kids to kind of be like,
well, the thing is, what he's wearing around his neck is supposed to be I think one of those like Jacobian ruffs.
Okay.
I think that's what that's supposed to be.
Yeah, it's like that frilly, like the pirate shirt.
Yeah.
Jerry Seinfeld had, yeah.
I never got why he had crab claws, though, or like knee-high boots. Thigh-high boots.
A skirt.
Or a Santa Claus skirt.
Makeup, a beard. But him was really frightening, man. I don't know. Powerpuff Girls was a weird show. It was a lot of it had to do with the animation style, I think, and the villains. The villains were always odd. The Gangrene Gang?
That's what I want to get into.
Oh, why? What do you got on the Gangrene?
Okay, so fun thing going on here. You know the band Gorillaz, right?
Yeah.
Animated?
Yep.
Well, recently, in their mythos, whatever, their bassist has been arrested and has been replaced by a member of the Gangrene Gang.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Wow.
There he is.
Oh, I remember that one. Yeah, yeah.
People are like, that can't be the same one. His bio on their official website is that he is, in fact, Ace from the Gangrene Gang.
Wow. Oh, that's pretty cool, man. I kind of like that.
So that means that in the Gorillaz world, the Powerpuff Girls exist.
Yeah, they're all canon to each
other.
They're
all canon to each other now.
That's cool. I love crossover stuff like that. Especially because that's a crossover that's not just for attention. That's like we're paying tribute to something that we grew up with. How about Ed, and Eddie was creepy. To an extent.
I don't remember. I remember that show a bit being...
I'm surprised you weren't like obsessed with that show, considering your name is Ed. As a child, if you have the same name as a cartoon character you like, that's like the best. I feel like no.
No, because you can always get which Ed are you, and it's like
you just pick Double D because he was the smart one.
You do that, and they give you the other one,
the big dumb one.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, I'm pretty sure was just special needs, and that was what was weird about that character.
Well, because the stupid characters back in cartoons back in the day were more special needs, I think, than they were stupid.
Yeah, it's like that's a character.
Or that just might be us imparting our idea,
like retroactively.
Retroactively.
Kind of. Yeah, I don't know. It's like these. I feel like Courage the Cowardly Dog, Powerpuff Girls, and Ed, and Eddie couldn't be made the way that they were today.
No, because I know why I think you have cartoons like Steven Universe and stuff now, which are a bit more
like for everyone.
For everyone, for adults and everybody, and are slightly more. I think also kids have changed. I think
the counter argument to that would be Adventure Time, because Adventure Time can be creepy at times. Like that's as close.
But that's
as
a show for everyone, though. It's not just for kids.
Right. Okay. Good point.
Like the Lich is terrifying.
Who?
The villain in Adventure Time.
What's his name?
the Lich.
Let me see.
Him.
Oh, yeah, that's...
Now, wait, where's his line? Hold on.
He has a line?
I think it's that the fall, whatever it is. He has a line where he goes into like what he plans to do, and it's dark.
Should we play it?
Yeah, I think this is it.
Fall.
Oh no, this is just when he. This might be it. Hold on. Yeah, I think so.
You are alone,
Yeah.
child. There is only darkness for you, and only death for your people. These ancients are just the beginning. I will command a great and terrible army. And we will sail to 1 billion worlds. We will sail until every light has been extinguished. You are strong, child, but I am beyond strength. I am the end. And I have come for you, Finn.
I didn't realize until the very end there that that's John DiMaggio doing that voice.
Yeah.
Okay. John DiMaggio, for anybody who doesn't know, does pretty much like all of the cartoon voices out there right now. Like him
Yeah.
and Patrick Warburton do a lot of them.
But the Lich is interesting because he's like a kind of like an old god kind of thing. Like it's the whole thing like sailing across the cosmos. Like he means physically sailing.
Okay.
Like they're going to like they have a vessel. Like they sail.
Is he like a Thanos kind of character?
He's more like Sauron.
Ah.
But
with a
he's also-
boat.
but he also-
Space boat Sauron.
He like
Robots in disguise, I guess. I don't know where I was headed with that theme.
there's a vague theme in Adventure Time that the world ended via like nuclear holocaust, and he's somehow the product of it.
Oh,
Like he was
okay.
like the bomb that they dropped.
Oh, and then became like sentient and evil.
No, like instead of like a nuclear, there was a war,
Right.
and like out of the war came like the Lich.
I gotta watch this show.
Like there's a scene like where he's walking and like everything's on fire around him, and it's like the modern world, everything's just burning, and it's like green fire,
Yeah.
and he's just like he was like the product of, like the final war like humanity waged like woke up the old gods basically, and like they just like laid waste to everything.
All right.
Yeah, Adventure Time gets really deep into like
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check
post-apocalyptic.
But
But
we got a lot of topics that we
Yeah.
haven't touched on most
Yeah.
of them. So let's take a quick break, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna speed round a few of these.
let's do it.
Any particular song you want to hear?
Up to you. Up to you. I'll let you. It's your show. I'll let you do
Let's
it.
go with. I've played the Nirvana version of this song a few times. Let's play the original version by Leadbelly. Where Did You Sleep Last Night? So we'll play that, and then we're gonna do. We don't have to speed round everything, but we're definitely gonna speed round some of these things because there's not a lot to say about them. They're just weird stories. But before that, Leadbelly. Where did you sleep last night? Well, YouTube told us we had 10 seconds, and it was less than 10.
YouTube
so I'll be
lied.
filing a grievance lawsuit against YouTube. Now, it's 2018, and you can do that and win every time. Welcome back to The Fringe on 103.7 WPWL Pauling Public Radio. I'm Mike Berquist, doing the station ID for no reason, because I don't legally have to right now. Hello, guest co-host.
Hello.
Ed
I'm
Dougherty.
Ed Dougherty.
That's right, you are. Hey, which Ed are you? I got him. You should see the look on his face, everyone. Let's speed round some of this stuff.
Let's do it. Lightning round. Let's do it.
We got a lot of nasty stuff out there. I want to take a quick peek at what's going on up in Canada. I might move there, not for political reasons, but just because the news is nicer. This was a big story for Canada. Somebody's camera caught their mailman stealing the family's tomatoes and eating them. The family wants an apology from the mailman for stealing and eating the tomatoes.
Okay, that's fair enough.
That's great. I love that news. I mean, over in this part, there was a news story yesterday that some woman drove like 6 miles with a dog tied to the back of her truck or something. The dog died, obviously, from that. Like, that's the kind of stuff we have down here. Up in Canada, we have the mailman stole the tomatoes.
there's something. I'm not trying to be political. There's something about this country.
I mean, you can be political. We just gotta read this here. The views and opinions expressed on this program do not necessarily reflect the views, opinions, or policies of Bowling Public Radio.
All right,
Let fly.
let it fly. I'm not trying to be political. I'm going to say that, but I think that what is going on with people in this country?
You got to be a lot more specific
Like
than that.
like that. Like, why is it that, like, Canada has like that sort of like, you know,
Right.
and we have this. Like, what is it about this country that churns out people like that?
I don't know, man. I mean, that was kind of the whole idea of behind Bowling for Columbine, the Michael Moore documentary, was why are we such a crazy, violent nation? Why does stuff like that happen here but nowhere else in the world?
Or if it does happen, it's very minor.
Right.
Like, it'll be
or-
like a
yeah.
fluke thing.
Yes. But
It's
it's
but why do we have like why is there a nation in the like why are we as a nation full of people that are like this? And it's like
it's hard to
not
say.
not even like evil people. You know what I mean? Like just bad people. You know, like
I mean,
not
what's the
misunderstood in any way. I'm just saying like that's a sick individual.
Was that would tie the dog to the
Yeah.
thing? I would call that an evil person.
That
I would
is.
call it an evil
But why are there more stories like that in our country as opposed to like what's going on elsewhere, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely that if it bleeds, it leads kind of thing that has really
Yeah.
brought journalism to a screeching halt.
I mean, would you say
or
it's American
standard
journalism specifically?
American journalism is, I almost said dog poop, but I was going to use a different word.
Oh, I agree with you on that. but-
like every time Trump says the media is the enemy of the people, I agree with him 100%.
Yeah, I don't think he's wrong on that.
No, I hope he I mean, I've said it on the air before. I can't wait till the New York Times has to go out of business. I want that institution gone.
I want
And
many,
CNN and Fox News and MSNBC. I want all of it gone.
It needs to be gone. I think
gotta be gone. It's
mainstream
gotta
media
be-
needs to go.
It's got to be rebuilt from the ground up. We shouldn't still be
The
having.
country needs to be rebuilt from the ground up, I think. But
We shouldn't still have yellow journalism and muckraking in 2018.
We
These are
don't.
terms from like 1890.
I know it's awful. It's really awful. There's no honest journalism anymore.
There's none. It's just it's all editorial.
But it just
stuff.
makes me angry. Like this is a wholesome. This is actually like this is a crime, but it's a wholesome crime. You know what I mean? Like it's not.
It's a wholesome-
A guy
that's
ate
exactly
tomatoes out of somebody's garden.
and
being
they're-
shamed for
and
it.
they're not suing him.
They just want an
for-
apology.
Yeah, they're not suing for $30 million.
But we
against
have
like
in
the-
this country, we'll have.
Can you imagine if the mailman ate tomatoes from your yard? You would want him arrested. He would have to. You would sue the postal service, or people would.
Or there'd be a video of me like beating him with a pipe.
it would be.
on a
It
cell
would
phone
be
somewhere.
something way more than.
But why is
Well,
that?
we would like
here,
an
though?
apology.
Like, what is like? That's my point. Is like, why is it? Why do all these horrible individual stories like this that come out of like backwoods America somewhere?
It's not. I mean, I don't know, dude. I don't think
It's-
I don't think there is like a place in America that is immune from that kind of thing.
I don't
Like, it
think
doesn't
so
even have
either.
To be backwoods. It could be anywhere.
But I'm saying it's just like these stories come out and they're horrible, and you hear things like people like with children and stuff too,
Oh.
like something along the similar lines of this.
when I'm combing through articles
It's
to prepare the
always-
show, it beats me down. I really have to like walk away
Away from it.
sometimes for a little while. Yeah,
But it's why here?
I don't know.
Like, what is it about the people, our people in this country, that are just so prone to horrible acts of violence? And it's like, we can pinpoint things. We can pinpoint things. I don't think there's one cause to it, but there has to be a pattern here of what are we being exposed to, or what is around us environmentally that makes us act that way.
Right.
Because you don't hear, I mean, maybe because we're just in another country, you don't hear about that in China. You don't hear about that elsewhere. That doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Or if it does, we don't hear about it because it's local.
Right.
But
Because Michael, this is like the only time I'll ever compliment Michael Morris. He did a good job looking at the different things and being like, comparing like, okay, well maybe it's because we're a nation that was built on war,
violence.
on violence and war. But then he goes, but there are a lot of other nations in the world that were built the very same way that don't have these problems.
France.
So yeah, so you would like eliminate those kinds of like. It's weird.
I think
it
I
really
think
almost defies.
I would argue it's that point that we
labeling.
were built on violence, but I think it's that.
I can't only be that.
But
though,
no,
'cause it
but
happens
my point is
everywhere.
that say like France had like the revolution, right? It was violent. A lot of people
even-
got beheaded.
Even beyond that, they had.
But they don't-
Napoleon.
they
They,
don't
had all the
celebrate
wars
that
earlier.
violence. They it's a part of their history and they move
Right.
on from it. America,
They celebrate Bastille Day.
they celebrate Bastille Day, but they also at the same time we celebrate the 4th of July. But it's
Well, that's actually in a weird way reverse. Because 4th of July is a celebration of declaring independence.
Actually,
Bastille Day is a celebration of storming a prison.
Well, it's funny because when the French Revolution happened, America publicly decried it at the time.
Did we really?
Yeah, we were
That's dumb.
Well, because we were like, this isn't the way you do it. We were like, hey, you guys
you mean
need
with
to
like
stop
guillotining anyone
and
that
stuff. We're like,
Robespierre put in the newspaper? Yeah.
That's like we like poo-pooed that. Right. But I think it's also, if you look at like, say, France, for example, using them as an example.
Right.
That happened, right? But I think France still is not a warlike nation. It's a group.
If anything, they're a nation of surrendering cowards. That's right, I said it.
There
I'm
you
going to
go.
bring them down a peg because they just won the World Cup. They don't get to enjoy that for too long. Not while I'm sitting here.
But I don't know what it is about this country that it's almost like there's like a fascination with the violent aspect of how our country got formed. You see what I'm saying?
But the thing is, that's not unique to us.
It's not unique, but I think it's our obsession with it is.
I guess, because, like, I don't think China has these issues, or Japan.
But I think also because China has that whole communism thing with where everything got covered up. So nobody, like, I feel like that's a whole different political system.
So you think, so political system plays a role also.
I think also, but I think it's also that our nation was forged in fire and war and all this.
Right.
And a bunch of other nations were, but most of those nations don't look back on those times as fondly as we do.
Okay, I just thought of something else.
You see what I'm getting at? Like, it's like we celebrate
we celebrate violence instead of saying, like, that was a necessary part of history, but we're moving past that, trying not to replicate
those other nations do.
Right.
Like, France does that. Like, they moved on from that. And I'm not comparing ourselves, I think countries have give and takes and I don't think one country is better than all the other ones. I'm proud of where I live. But I think there's this bizarre aspect in American culture where we look back on the violent times in a way of...
It's reverential.
Like, that was awesome.
And it's like... And I want the glory also.
Yeah, it's like blood of the patriots kind of thing. And it's like...
Oh, I'm losing what I had. Oh no, where's my thought going? No.
Point in history. I'm trying to backtrack here. Point in history, we move on from that.
Oh, I think part of it is also because of the idea of the American dream, where you're taught from a young age that you can have anything you want, do everything you want, you're special and all this stuff, and then you grow up and you realize that it's not that way really, and I think there's a lot of resentment builds up.
Tons of it.
And I think that resentment of the idea being a lie brings out violence in people because they go, well, I was raised, it's this
also
whole, the world let me down, so let me fight the world.
I think that too, and I think also it's the idea of liberty itself being manipulated by powerful people.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that's the fun part about
the liberty we had in 1776 is not the liberty that is being taught to us now. No. And I think also it doesn't...
Well, the problem is we're in both late-stage democracy and late-stage capitalism, and those two things are working in tandem to benefit each other, and at the same time they're speeding up they're speeding up each other's own downfall.
Yeah.
They're helping each other and destroying each other at the same time.
Yes.
It's like two parasites eating each other.
Did you know also that we make up, and this isn't like an anti-Second Amendment thing or anything like that, but do you know that we make 46% of the world's guns are in this country?
That makes sense. Yeah.
But I mean, also, that also just reflects us as a country. I think also it's just that we're and I'm not disapproving of guns at all. I'm just saying that we're like the Klingons. That's the way I always look at it. Is if we were space, if we were planets,
right?
Like America was a planet.
Yeah.
It would be Vulcan, or not Vulcan, Kronos, home of the Klingons.
Okay.
I feel like we'd be the Klingons.
Yeah, I guess so.
Europe would be like the Vulcans. Or at least they think, or at least they'd like to think of themselves that. Or Romulans. There'd be split. Eastern and Western.
I think maybe Romulans is right, because they were always sort of like, we're kind of allies, but you guys are definitely doing stuff we don't like.
Yeah. Like, but I think we would be the Klingons. I think we would be the ones that would have ritual combat and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because we produce such a quote unquote warrior culture here, I think, even with civilians, not even military people.
Right.
Where just everyone wants to fight.
Yeah. Yeah, to an extent, yeah.
Like everyone's gung ho, like everyone's like
Or gun ho.
gun ho.
Pew pew, got him.
But that's the whole thing. Also, I think we also
Come on,
have
I nailed that pun.
certain aspects, like say like the Wild West, right? Like
Right.
cowboys.
Also, we were supposed to speed round, but
We were.
go ahead.
But like cowboys, you know,
Yes.
like it's like we have certain unique aspects of our country that made us what we are, which was like there was a period of time out west where everything was like lawless and everyone was like, you know.
That's the thing, though. That was like maybe that's another reason
But
why
that's
things
part
are
of
so
what's
weird here.
quote unquote the American spirit was like that like untamed, bridled like fury thing.
Here's the other thing, though. Is there any other country in the world other than ours that is so incredibly diverse?
No,
Like, because if you look at Florida and Washington State,
two different.
those are
Polar
you would
opposites.
think that they were on different continents.
Yeah. No, I think it's just because one, we're one of the larger countries geographically speaking.
Right.
Next to also like
And that has to play
France
a role,
has
though.
42 million people in it. I think we have 330 million or something like that. Some like astounding number.
That has to play a role because there's some. I've been kind of into. I don't know if you've heard of this guy, Jordan Peterson.
I've heard of them.
He's incredibly mislabeled and misquoted in the media. Like Joe Rogan did a podcast with him recently. If you really want to understand what Jordan Peterson's about, I encourage everyone to go listen to Joe Rogan Experience when he talked to him maybe 2 weeks ago. But Jordan Peterson says there is an actual genetic thing. Racism is a thing in like primal DNA where you see something that's different from you and you become cautious of it.
Right.
Like it's a survival instinct kind of thing. So to have a country that is so filled
Diverse.
with so diverse, that thing is probably firing constantly in people's brains. Not necessarily. I mean, I'm sure it's not as strong as it used to be, but could that also possibly be why people are so
People can have overactive ones, which can cause racism.
right? Or if you take Ambien, Roseanne Barr taught us that.
Yeah. But I think it's no. I think again, that's what makes America unique. Is we are literally comprised of every other country in the world.
Yeah.
We are literally.
But could that be a part of the? I know this is not, and I'm not
100
saying.
I think it's very much a part of that.
And let me just say, I'm not saying, for the record, I just want to make it very clear, I'm not saying that violence is due to race mixing. That is not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying, I'm coming up with ideas of why is we got to look at the United States and every other country in the world and go, what's different? And then you look at what's different, and then you go, well, how could that possibly have something to do with everything?
I think the other thing is you look at governing such a large expanse. It's such a diverse thing, and it's almost
it's the Roman Empire.
It is, but it's also look at how unyieldy it becomes when one group has to control all of it. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
It doesn't really work.
It's the Roman Empire.
Because that's what causes the disparities, where you have certain parts of your empire, say, for example, that are less fortunate than other parts.
Right.
And they're like, well, we're all part of the same empire. Why are we getting less than they are? Or like, why are we being overlooked?
Right.
Right? And I think it's because...
Well, that's the idea, the states' rights.
The states, well, that's what I think needs to be put into play, personally. I think more so than ever. Is
more states' rights?
States need to be able to function... The same thing as Ron Swanson said. They need to function individually out of the federal government. I think the federal government is...
Ron Swanson saying that...
Well, the libertarian point of view.
Is that more federal power, you're saying?
No, more state.
Right, okay.
More state. No, not more federal. Less federal, more state is what I'm saying.
Okay.
Is because that's how you're going to be able to manage something that big, is having the local governments who are supposed to be more in tune to what those people need,
right,
run those things, and the Fed is supposed to be able to provide those things, but the Fed should be smaller than the state.
Yeah.
Not the state should be bigger than the Fed, but I think the states need to be able to function independently to some extent.
It's very complicated.
It is.
We're definitely not going to get to the bottom of it here.
Absolutely not.
We got romantic versions of Wild West coming in here. That's a comment I just got. All right. But let's speed round real quick.
Keep going.
And then, because we still got to do good, bad, ugly science. I don't know if you're familiar with this.
I am not familiar with this. I like that.
One.
So let's speed round this.
Okay, so we got paraplegic, zip ties, and shoots stripper with stun gun in his Georgia home. Now, I'm going to say this is the most able paraplegic I've ever heard of.
He doesn't even sound paraplegic. That's the paraplegic?
Wow, that's not what I was
expecting at all.
He's got a, what's the dude's name? He's got a Larry haircut from the Three Stooges.
Yeah.
In Decatur, Georgia, a man paralyzed from the waist down allegedly zip-tied a woman in his
How?
home, raped and assaulted her.
Wow.
Used a stun gun and shot at a woman who refused his demands.
How did this all happen?
3 months ago, another exotic dancer filed an assault report against him. Police. He uses a wheelchair to get around, paid an exotic dancer to perform at his home, and then turned violent as soon as she arrived. Oh, he pulled out a handgun and a taser. What a lunatic this guy is. All right. Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So there was
moving on.
that. I didn't think it was going to be that horrific. I thought it was going to be at least a little whimsical. No.
Nope.
I don't know why I thought that, by the way, when I saw paraplegic zip ties shoot stripper with stun gun.
It's a strange thing to read.
Because I thought it was neck down. That's quadriplegic, isn't it? Okay,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too, like a George Reeve kind of.
Christopher Reeve.
Christopher Reeve. What did I say? George Reeve?
Well, he was also Superman just way earlier.
Yeah.
He was the Hollywood Land guy. Right?
Christopher Reeve.
Christopher
I was
Reeve,
picturing
yeah.
more like breathing
Exactly.
into
I was
a
like,
tube.
yeah, how is this guy stun gunning and getting... I was like, this has got to be some kind of crazy Rube Goldberg machine situation.
That's what I thought was going to happen. Apparently
Nope,
not.
just a lunatic.
We're idiots.
We got Walmart continuing on their dunce trajectory, patenting technology that would allow it to eavesdrop on the cashiers. Because if they don't already treat their employees badly, now they're really going to step it up.
Yeah.
We got Greenland community is on high alert as a massive iceberg looms. This is from.
Is it melting?
Well, the picture is hilarious.
Wow,
because
that's big.
It's just an iceberg
Outside of like a cottage.
trying to sneak up on. And community is a strong word for
That's
what
like
this is.
3 houses.
It's 3 fishing shacks on a rock.
There might be more.
I only see 3 in the picture.
Well, in the picture, we don't know how big that community is.
The news doesn't lie. There are 3 houses, and that's it. So it's on. It's Greenland.
It's not even on the map. It's like off the coast of Greenland.
Yeah, I don't know why anybody. You know what? You know what, residents of Greenland, consider this iceberg a blessing in disguise, because now you're forced to actually move somewhere where people live. Yeah, that's weird though. That iceberg just kind of I hope it wasn't anywhere that close the night before, and they woke up the next morning and it was like right there.
You gotta imagine how cold that must feel from a distance.
Oh, I didn't even think about
Like
that.
yeah, like the air around it.
That's got to be bad.
Like you would just wake up and everything just dropped 30 degrees.
Yeah,
That's probably what's the like.
maybe that. Yeah, maybe that is.
Like
the
you
issue.
could probably hear that. You know what I mean? Like you can hear that thing crumbling.
They're on standby for evacuation.
That's crazy.
So there's that one.
Good luck to everybody out there.
Yeah, good luck. We already covered the tomatoes,
All right,
so that's all the weird news.
Let's get on to weird
We
science.
did the
Then.
nice news. Well, let's just do the rest of the dummies first,
Okay,
real
fine.
quick. Turtle Researchers Award rescinded over racy student photos.
Do you have pictures of said photos? I want to see.
No,
these.
I tried to find them yesterday
not
for
on the
the
article.
show, of course.
Completely academic.
Of course it was. So, yeah, this is from apnews.com. Basically, there was this guy, I believe his name is Dick Vogt, he's a Brazilian turtle researcher. There was a joint meeting of ichthyologists and herpetologists in Rochester. Some slides he had in his presentation, he had some of his students kind of posing in kind of sort of exploitative, risque kind of things, but it was obviously they were willing participants. It was just his way of spicing things up. People were so outraged at this conference they took his award away, and the reason I think this is dumb is, let's say he discovered a way that could keep, I don't know, that would benefit.
Turtles had the cure for cancer.
Yeah, he found something amazing, but they want to take it away from him because they're afraid of nudity. And the fact that your fear of nudity, which everyone has nudity. Everyone can be nude at any time.
Yes.
It's not like it's some people have it, we should shun it. Everyone has been nude. So to throw away possible progress because of nudity, I just find
It just
a little
depends.
outraging.
I just feel like the science circle is community in that circle is probably so small that whatever progress they had, if it was something that big, turtles curing cancer, I think they probably wouldn't have. They would have let it slide. I think whatever it was probably wasn't so ground shattering that he couldn't have lost his award for it.
It was a hilarious statement, though, where you seriously said if turtles cured cancer, then
Just put a turtle on a sick person.
imagine that was a cure. You just got to touch a turtle. I don't know.
If only it was that simple.
I don't know if anybody's tried yet. But let's see what else. Boston City Council considers giving non-citizens voting rights, which means you can just have all the benefits of being a citizen by being a non-citizen. So everyone just renounce your citizenship, stop paying taxes, and you also still get to vote. That's what Boston wants. So they're dumb. And then we got some dummy out on Cape Hatteras or Hatteras. He was growing weed on government land on the coast, and federal people discovered it's not seaweed like they thought it was. It's actual marijuana. So they caught that guy immediately. And then, the Scarlett Johansson thing I'll save for next week because that's a much larger issue. And also, there's one store left in the United States of Blockbuster.
Yeah, I knew that in Alaska.
Yeah, Alaska's got the last two Blockbusters in America are open in Alaska. One of them is closing, and the other one is set to close. All right, last 5 minutes. Let's do this. Let me get the music up. I still have Courage the Cowardly Dog up. What the hell is it called? Here we go, and boom.
The good. The bad. The ugly.
Good, bad, ugly science. Let's do it.
All right. Let's do this.
Let's start with the good.
Okay.
Sir David Bodie McBoatface has been launched.
What?
This is good science, by the way.
What is this?
It's from theguardian.com. David Attenborough, who's very famous for being like he's a big nature guy, right?
Yeah, he's like the
stuff.
nature spokes guy.
Yeah. Well, they've launched a vessel that's going to investigate Antarctica.
Okay.
The Antarctic. And it's like, I think it's kind of a state-of-the-art sort of research boat for that kind of thing. So I think it's good science that we're going to be figuring out what's going on down there. And they're also trying to figure out climate stuff also doing that. So, good science, I think.
And on board, there's a submarine called Bodie McBoatface.
Yeah, well, the vessel is officially known as the RRS David Attenborough, but it's being called Sir David Bodie McBoatface. So that has been launched, which is good. That's good science.
It's good science.
Bad science.
Bad
time.
science.
NASA may have accidentally burned evidence of life on Mars almost 50 years ago.
Wait, what?
Well, basically, during the 1970s, and this is from BusinessInsider.com, during the 1970s, the Viking probe went to Mars and found no evidence of any organic matter. NASA recently announced the Curiosity rover discovered complex organic molecules on the surface of Mars. Now they're thinking Viking may have found the same discovery more than 40 years ago and accidentally burned it.
How did it burn it?
I assume leaving the area, but let me see. Yeah, the remote-controlled machine inadvertently burned the valuable find during data analysis. So that's the hypothesis they're going right now.
Was it by accident, though, or did they find something they're like, we gotta keep this secret with burning?
I mean, if that was the case, then they would still be keeping it secret, I think. It's the same group.
Yeah, that's true.
So, yeah, they may have burned evidence of life on Mars 50 years ago. Now, ugly science, and this one is pretty ugly. It's from Gizmodo.com. Doctors find tapeworm larva in spine of woman hobbled by electric shocks in her legs. So it's a tapeworm that normally infects barn animals and dogs, but a 35-year-old French woman caught it, I guess. She learned her 3-month ordeal of worsening muscle weakness and electrical zaps in both legs was ultimately caused by worms that had lodged themselves inside her spine.
Ugh.
That's disgusting. She'd been struggling to stay upright, regularly falling without reason. So, yeah, they found that she had tapeworm larva. It's like a dog tapeworm, too. So, yeah, occasionally humans get it, I guess. That'd be very occasionally.
That's a weird place to get it, though.
Luckily, the woman's story ends about as happily as it can. 9 months after the procedure and following a course of anti-parasitic medication, the woman showed no symptoms or no signs of a continued infestation. So, they fixed her.
That's good.
That's ugly science. A deadly brain-invading worm is disturbingly widespread in Florida. This is my Courage the Cowardly Dog nightmare coming to fruition. Let's get the hell out of that. All right. There's your good, bad, and ugly science for today. We got about a minute a little less. Ed, I want to thank you for coming in today.
It was a pleasure
I'm
being
gonna
here.
be honest, I wasn't totally sure if you were going to come in or not, because our texts earlier in the week were always like, I think you asked me what time the show was like 4 times, and I was like, uh-oh, I feel like he's trying to get out of this.
No. I just was planning my weekend around the show, so I was.
Just remembered I forgot to bring in my wrestling CDs. I found we're cleaning out what is referred to as the toy closet in my house, just to get rid of old stuff from years ago that I haven't seen in a long time. Old yearbooks and journals as from being a child. I found all my wrestling CDs that had all the themes from all the wrestlers.
Oh, wow.
When I was a little nerd. I wanted to play the Stone Cold Steve Austin theme today on the show.
Oh.
But next time. I suppose I could have YouTubed it, but what fun would that have been?
Not as much.
Or like equivalent, perhaps.
I guess.
Maybe. I don't know. But anyways, any words here? Any plugs? Do you have any plugs?
Plugs. Let's see. Let's plug some stuff. No, I got no plugs.
You have no plugs?
I have no plugs. I'm
Well,
plugless.
When I launch my podcast network, you can have a show on there, and then you can...
I'm giving him the
plug.
thumbs up for that.
All right. So,
But hopefully another time I can come on here and
oh, for sure. Yeah,
join
you're,
you.
You're welcome anytime.
Oh, that's good.
Ed Dougherty, friend of the show. And I was thinking about it, looking because I've been looking through old stuff, old show files and stuff. I feel like you co-hosted the show with me as many times as Teresa did.
Probably, yeah.
And yet she gets the title. What's that about?
Well,
I know.
we all know what that's about.
It is my fault.
Nepotism.
Completely. But, all right. Anyways, we got to get out of here. We're a
All
little
right.
over time. Ed, thank you again.
You're very
for coming
welcome.
in.
Thank you for having me.
Sure. This flew by.
It did.
But thank you, everybody, for listening. I will not be here next week, but I'll be putting out a supplemental episode in the middle of the week, and then be back the following
supplements.
Sunday. Yes, supplements. So thanks, everybody. Peace.
Bye.
1, 2,